was this a heel turn for the Shield?
Yeah. And I think that still remains to be answered. I think one of the things I would point out is I don't personally think it's going to end up being a heel turn. I guess we'll see what ends up happening down the road. The reason I say that is the commentary. If this was supposed to be a true heel turn, the commentary by Michael Cole did not do this justice. I mean, he went on to say, he had goosebumps and he wanted to see the triple bomb and he was excited for this reunion and all that stuff. And those aren't things that you'd normally say when trying to categorize the actions of a heel team.
Mhm.
If he wanted to express that in the appropriate way, I think he would have used words like despicable, things like that, and he didn't do that here. So
I mean, I was looking all over social media, see what people were reacting to this, and a lot of people were actually saying that this was not a heel turn for the Shield, but in fact, a heel turn for Strowman.
right,
And it was because of how he acted prior to Rollins and Ambrose coming out. Now, he already said that he was going to cash in on whoever wins the match between Roman Reigns and Finn Balor. So Roman Reigns is on the ground. Strowman is in the ring, waiting patiently for him to get up. As soon as Roman gets up, he kicks him in the gut and then cashes in
right,
or attempts to cash in. With that, people are like, oh, that kick right there means that he's turning heel. That was a heelish move. He said he was going to do it face to face, unlike other Money in the Bank winners. That was the heel move. I was like, no. Personally, the triple power bomb and the crowd's reaction to the triple power bomb really made more of the heel move because you're taking the biggest face, most popular wrestler on Raw, with the exception of maybe Seth Rollins, and you putting him through a table and
right.
the crowd booing that move. So again, the crowd reaction thinking one way and possibly booking doing another way. We're actually going to talk more about this later on
Yep.
in the podcast. So
I think the whole thing is really just convoluted at this point because, you have the Shield coming out. You have Roman Reigns who's saying one thing, saying he's going to defend the title every single week. And he started doing that with Finn Balor. And then he has his old pals with the Shield come out to protect him, essentially to prevent Braun Strowman from cashing in the Money in the Bank. And, I'd be interested to see how the crowd felt with the whole Shield reunion versus how the commentary came across because the way I had taken it as they were doing a heelish act, but the commentary wasn't exactly acknowledging that.
and this is one of the big problems with WWE and how they book their heels in their faces. Well, again, we'll talk about that further on in the podcast. But you know, the other thing that is interesting is the way they're promoting the Shield outside of this show. So if you recently gotten any emails promoting from WWE, I received one for a show coming up in Providence where the Shield are going up in a six-man tag against Dolph Ziggler, Constable Corbin, and Braun Strowman, which would let you to believe that, in fact, Strowman was the one turning heel
Right.
or will be eventually turning heel, and the Shield are staying as faces. And with everything earlier this week being announced that Roman Reigns is now the top selling merchandise guy in
Right.
WWE, I don't think Vince wants to turn that heel. He never really wants to put the top merchandise seller as a heel. So that makes me believe that, it wasn't a heel turn, although the acts definitely show it was a heel turn. Where do you see this going, though? There's three ways that this can go. One way is you keep Strowman the face, he keeps attempting to cash in, and then finally does so, and that creates a big pop. The other way is how you're saying, we could see a Shield Wyatt reunion.
Right. And that's one of the things that I was talking about earlier with you. So, uh, one of the suggestions that I had read online was that the Braun Strowman could potentially bring the Wyatts back, right? So you
Mhm.
got Rowan who's out on injury, you got Harper who's on SmackDown. I'm sure they could find a way to bring him on Raw,
Right.
and you've got Bray Wyatt, who Matt Hardy's out on injury as well. So do they repackage the Wyatt family and bring them out to take on the Shield? I mean, that would be, I think, an easy way to prevent the cash in because you look at Strowman, who's a guy who's not necessarily going to win the belt in a chicken shit heel type of fashion. So you can build the Shield versus the Wyatts and extend the whole feud between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman and eventually have that match down the road somewhere, or the cash in down the road, and at least keep the crowd invested in this.
Now, the other way you could do this is have Strowman be the heel, Roman Reigns be the babyface, and Constable Corbin using his new GM powers to say, okay, if there's no way that Strowman can get his cash in successful, then we're going to have to settle this at Hell in a Cell, where the main event will be in a Hell in a Cell match, Braun Strowman versus Roman Reigns. And that keeps the Shield out. That ultimately lets Strowman cash in. And this has happened before where we had a predetermined cash in.
Right.
Damian Sandow and John Cena are the only two that have done that. And actually, two of the three failed cash ins were those cash ins.
Predetermined matches.
So, does this mean that all this will be leading to a failed cash in,
Right.
which a lot of people will dump on because this is what they are anticipating. This is what they want. Strowman is the most popular wrestler, like I said, on Raw. So out of those three scenarios, where do you see this going?
I'd like to see them do a Shield versus Wyatt reunion match. I would not like to see Strowman as the heel. Reason I say that is I hate when they take a bunch of guys, assuming that they don't do the thing where they bring the Wyatts back or have the Wyatt reunion versus Shield reunion. I hate when they just throw guys together to take on the faces, right? So assuming you've got the Shield who's going to play the face, and you've got Braun Strowman and a cast of characters, whether it's Kevin Owens, whether it's Dolph Ziggler or Constable Corbin. When they kind of just throw heels together like that, it's just it just kind of indicates that they didn't plan ahead, right? So there was no long-term storyline established or plan put into place, and they're just kind of throwing guys together to carry on this whole Shield reunion, Roman Reigns victory tour, victory lap with the finally conquesting, defeating Brock Lesnar. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but I'd like to see the Shield versus the Wyatts at some point.
I would like to see that as well. Unfortunately, I believe the route they're going is Strowman versus Roman at Hell in the Cell, and Corbin will be the one that institutes that match so that Strowman could be the heel, Roman could be the face, and it's going to be at Hell in the Cell. So you have to find a way to make it a Hell in the Cell match. Why not? You know, the story is already there to set up the Hell in the Cell match. And that's the one thing I hate too, is they make these stipulation matches the pay-per-view. Hell in a Cell, Extreme Rules,
Right.
TLC. And like they kind of have to find a way to make every match that particular stipulation. Although Extreme Rules this year, they didn't really do that. They only had one Extreme Rules match.
Yeah, something like that.
So this could be the only Hell in a Cell match, which I'll be fine with if that's the only one. But if they start doing this one's a Hell in a Cell match, that one's a Hell in a Cell match.
SmackDown Championship match has a Hell in a Cell,
Right.
and this one has a Hell in a Cell.
And that's just annoying, and it defeats the purpose of the match. So, but I do think that's the route they're going. Where do you think this is going to go? Click the eye above my head, take our poll. Let us know what you think. Well, is this a Shield heel turn, or is this a Strowman heel turn?